I only used it for fighting where that was my image, just real hardcore, no socks.
Mike Tyson, boxing legend, larger-than-life personality, and a man whose name has been synonymous with controversy for decades, is making headlines once again. This time, it's not in the ring. Fans around the world are in shock as reports confirm that Tyson is behind bars, following yet another explosive outburst. How did a man who conquered opponents with fearsome fists end up in this situation? And why is the world so captivated by his every move, even outside the sport? It wasn't a quiet arrest or a minor incident. According to eyewitnesses, Tyson's latest outburst escalated quickly, leaving authorities no choice but to intervene. For a figure like Tyson, whose life has been filled with highs and lows from championship victories to personal struggles, this moment seems almost inevitable to those familiar with his history. But for the average fan, it's shocking. They remember the Iron Mike who electrified the boxing world with his power, charisma, and unpredictability, not the man being restrained and taken into custody. Mike Tyson's life has always been larger than most people could imagine. From the moment he stepped into the boxing ring, the world knew him as Iron Mike, a force of nature, a champion whose fists could change history in seconds. But outside the ring, Tyson's life has been far less predictable. Personal struggles, legal troubles, and moments of public controversy have marked his journey almost as much as his victories. Yet, fans and critics alike were still caught off guard when news broke that Mike Tyson is behind bars once again, this time following a shocking outburst that left everyone speechless. It began as a seemingly routine public appearance. Tyson had been scheduled to attend a private event, something that should have been uneventful. But those who know Tyson's history knew better. His temperament has always been fiery, shaped by a turbulent upbringing in Brooklyn, early struggles with the law, and a career that placed him under constant global scrutiny. On that fateful day, something triggered Tyson: a provocation, a misunderstanding, or perhaps a culmination of stress and emotion that quickly escalated beyond anyone's control. Eyewitnesses describe the scene as chaotic. Tyson, usually measured and self-aware in public engagements, lost control in a moment that stunned even those closest to him. Security tried to intervene, but the force of his anger and the speed of his reactions made immediate restraint necessary. Authorities were called, and within minutes, Tyson was escorted away from the scene. Cameras captured the moment, fans screamed in disbelief, and social media erupted almost instantly. Within hours, news outlets across the world carried the story: Mike Tyson, once again, behind bars. For longtime followers of Tyson's career, this incident is a stark reminder of the man behind the legend. He is not just a boxer, not just a public figure. He is a human being shaped by adversity, triumph, loss, and fame that few could endure without cracks appearing. This outburst, while shocking to many, is consistent with the narrative of a life lived at extremes. Tyson's journey has always been a delicate balance between control and chaos, and this latest chapter proves that old patterns can resurface. No matter the accomplishments achieved, fans, naturally, reacted in real time. Social media exploded with disbelief, sympathy, and heated debate. Some argued that Tyson should have known better, given his age and experience. Others pointed out the pressures he has endured, suggesting that the incident is part of a broader pattern of human struggle, rather than mere recklessness. Memes circulated alongside heartfelt messages, all reflecting a world trying to reconcile the larger-than-life figure of Iron Mike with the vulnerability of the man behind the headlines. But beyond the public spectacle, the incident has deeper implications. Tyson's legal team scrambled to assess the situation, family members prepared statements, and analysts debated the potential consequences not just for his personal freedom, but for his carefully maintained legacy. For a man who has survived unimaginable highs and lows, this incident is another reminder that life outside the ring can be just as brutal, just as unforgiving, and just as unpredictable as the battles he once fought inside it. As Tyson sits behind bars, waiting for the next steps, one thing is clear: the world is watching. Fans are divided between outrage and empathy, curiosity and concern. And while headlines may fade, the image of Mike Tyson's latest outburst, raw, human, and undeniable, will linger. A stark reminder that even legends are not immune to their own inner battles. Social media erupted as news of Tyson's latest run-in with the law spread. Memes, comments, and heated debates flooded platforms as fans tried to reconcile the legend of his past with the man making headlines today. Many expressed disbelief, some offered sympathy, and others questioned what led to this moment. Was it a trigger from a long-standing personal struggle? Or is this another chapter in a life that has always walked the line between genius and chaos? For Mike Tyson, every headline is a reminder of the persona he carries, one forged in the boxing ring, but shaped by years of personal battles. This latest incident raises questions about accountability, legacy, and the challenges of life outside the spotlight. How will this affect his reputation? And what does it mean for a man whose story has been anything but ordinary? One thing is clear: the world is watching, and as fans wait for the next development, one thought echoes louder than any punch ever thrown: Mike Tyson's life is never predictable. And this latest chapter proves it. To understand Mike Tyson's latest outburst, one must look beyond the headlines and into the life that shaped him. Tyson is not just a former heavyweight champion. He is a man molded by hardship, fame, and a relentless pressure that few can imagine. From his childhood in the tough neighborhoods of Brooklyn to the roaring arenas of Las Vegas and beyond, Tyson's journey has been one of extreme talent, extreme scrutiny, and extreme emotion. Tyson's upbringing was anything but ordinary. Raised in a neighborhood where violence and crime were everyday realities, he faced adversity from an early age. His father was absent, and his mother struggled to make ends meet. Tyson has often described his youth as a constant battle for survival, a time when he learned to rely on his fists and instincts to navigate a world that was anything but kind. Boxing became not just a sport, but an outlet, a refuge, and ultimately a ticket to a life he had once only dreamed of. By the time Tyson rose to global fame, he was already carrying the weight of his past. He became the youngest heavyweight champion in history at the age of 20, captivating audiences with his ferocity, speed, and raw power. Yet, the very fame that elevated him also amplified every misstep, every personal struggle, and every flaw. He faced legal battles, a high-profile prison sentence, and tumultuous personal relationships, all under the glare of public attention. For Tyson, the pressures of life outside the ring were as intense as the fights he once dominated. Even in recent years, long after retiring from professional boxing, Tyson has grappled with the complexities of life in the spotlight. While he has explored entrepreneurship, podcasts, and appearances in film and television, the man who once relied on discipline and focus in the ring has also wrestled with emotional volatility. Friends and insiders note that Tyson's moments of anger are not merely reckless. They are often expressions of deep-seated frustration, pain, and the lingering effects of a life marked by trauma and expectation. The lead up to this latest incident shows a pattern that has silently unfolded over decades. In the days prior to the outburst, Tyson reportedly faced a series of personal and professional pressures and resolved conflicts, high-stakes decisions, and media scrutiny. While the details remain private, those close to him suggest that it was the cumulative weight of these factors that triggered the public explosion. For Tyson, moments like these are rarely isolated. They are the tip of an emotional iceberg formed by years of pressure, expectation, and unspoken struggle. Fans who remember Tyson as the baddest man on the planet are now witnessing a more vulnerable, human side of him, a side that grapples with mistakes, consequences, and the fragility of life beyond the boxing ring. Social media has been flooded with mixed reactions, ranging from criticism to sympathy, all reflecting the paradox of a man who was once untouchable in the ring but remains deeply human. In his personal life, the incident is a stark reminder that behind the public persona of a celebrity or a legend lies a real person, capable of error, emotion, and unpredictability. For Tyson, the journey from childhood adversity to global fame has never been linear or easy. And this latest outburst, while shocking to many, is another chapter in a life that has always been marked by extremes. As Mike Tyson awaits legal proceedings, fans and critics alike are left with questions. Can he regain control? Will this incident redefine his legacy? And, perhaps most importantly, what does it say about a man who has fought both inside the ring and within himself for his entire life? The moment news broke that Mike Tyson had been taken into custody, the world reacted almost instantaneously. Social media erupted with shock, disbelief, and heated debate. Hashtags referencing the legendary boxer began trending within minutes. Memes, opinion threads, and fan messages flooded every platform from Instagram and Twitter to TikTok and Facebook. For a man who has been a global figure for decades, this was more than another headline. It was a spectacle, a moment where the world seemed to pause and collectively process what had happened. Fans expressed a range of emotions. Some were incredulous, refusing to reconcile the man they grew up watching dominate the boxing ring with the figure now behind bars. "I can't believe Mike Tyson is doing this again," one fan tweeted. "We remember him as a champ, not for this." Others took a more sympathetic view, highlighting the pressures and challenges Tyson has faced in life. "You can't expect a human being to be perfect, even if he's a legend," another fan wrote. "He's been through more than most of us can imagine." The media frenzy was equally intense. News outlets rushed to cover every detail. From eyewitness accounts to statements from law enforcement, analysts dissected Tyson's past, drawing connections between his history of legal troubles and the latest incident. Experts debated whether this outburst was a sign of deeper personal struggles or simply an isolated lapse in judgment. Late-night shows and talk radio devoted segments to discussing the incident, while YouTube channels posted live commentary, generating millions of views in hours. Tyson's legal team quickly mobilized. Statements were released to assure the public that they were addressing the situation and that Tyson would cooperate fully with authorities. Yet, the legal consequences remained uncertain. Observers speculated about fines, probation, or even short-term incarceration. Whatever the outcome, it was clear that this incident would have lasting implications for his public image and personal freedom, family, and friends. Meanwhile, attempted to provide context, noting that Tyson has struggled with anger management throughout his life. Close associates emphasized that while the outburst was serious, it was not characteristic of the man they know, the loving father, dedicated mentor, and passionate advocate for youth programs and boxing. These perspectives added nuance to the public conversation, showing that behind the headlines lies a man grappling with both fame and the burdens of a turbulent life. The incident also sparked reflection on the broader conversation about celebrity, accountability, and mental health. Tyson's public persona has always walked a fine line between admiration and fear, genius and chaos. This latest event reminded the world that even those we put on pedestals are vulnerable, human, and capable of mistakes. It challenged fans to reconcile their image of the invincible Iron Mike with a man facing real consequences for the general public. The fascination with Tyson is about more than sports. It's about narrative. His life has been a roller coaster of triumph, scandal, redemption, and controversy. Each chapter, from his rise to fame, his incarceration in the late 1990s, to his comeback tours, has drawn global attention. This latest outburst, shocking as it is, becomes another installment in a story that the world can't look away from. As the initial shockwaves of his arrest spread, one thing became evident: Mike Tyson's life outside the ring continues to captivate, confound, and challenge perceptions. Fans, analysts, and casual observers alike are left waiting, wondering not just what will happen next legally, but what this latest incident reveals about the man behind the myth. In the days following Mike Tyson's arrest, the world continued to grapple with the shocking news. Headlines dominated sports sections, news channels, and social media feeds. But behind the frenzy and speculation, Tyson himself was left to confront a reality few could fully understand: the consequences of actions. Fueled by years of pent-up emotions, public scrutiny, and personal struggles, sitting behind bars, Tyson faced more than just legal repercussions. He was confronted with the weight of his legacy, the expectations of millions of fans, and the personal responsibility he bore as a father, public figure, and former champion. For a man who has lived his entire life in the public eye, these moments of introspection are both rare and deeply transformative. He had always fought opponents in the ring, But now he was facing the most personal fight of all himself. Tyson's inner circle remained close, offering support, guidance, and perspective. Friends and family reminded him that his life has always been a series of challenges, each testing not just his strength, but his ability to learn, adapt, and grow. "You've faced bigger battles than this," one confidant reportedly told him. "What matters is how you respond now." Tyson, known for his fierce determination, began to reflect deeply on what that response should be. Fans also continued to voice their opinions, with reactions ranging from criticism to empathy. Some questioned whether a man with his history should be held to a higher standard, while others emphasized that his humanity, including flaws and mistakes, makes him relatable. Social media debates highlighted a tension familiar to Tyson himself: the struggle between public perception and personal reality. The man who once stood undefeated in the ring was now facing a different kind of arena, one with rules, judgment, and lasting consequences. The incident prompted Tyson to consider not only the immediate fallout, but also the long-term impact on his life and legacy. He recognized that, for better or worse, the world watches him closely, and that every action carries meaning beyond himself. At the same time, he understood that self-forgiveness and accountability must coexist. A lifetime of highs and lows had taught him that mistakes do not define a person, unless they are allowed to define him. In private moments, Tyson reflected on his journey, the challenges of a turbulent childhood, the rapid ascent to fame, the battles with anger and law, the triumphs inside the ring, and the personal growth that came in the years after retirement. He realized that while this latest outburst was a setback, it could also become a turning point and opportunity to confront unresolved issues, embrace support, and rebuild his path forward with intention. Ultimately, this chapter in Mike Tyson's life is about more than headlines, arrests, or public scrutiny. It is about a man navigating the complexities of fame, legacy, and personal responsibility. It is about learning from mistakes, understanding one's own triggers, and using experience to shape a better future. For fans and observers, it is a reminder that even the strongest, most iconic figures are human, vulnerable, flawed, and capable of change. As Tyson awaits legal proceedings and the next steps in his journey, the world watches closely, eager to see how a man who has faced life's fiercest battles will handle this one. In the end, this is not just a story of an outburst, it is a story of accountability, reflection, and the enduring challenge of growing beyond the shadows of both past triumphs and mistakes.